Alright guys, we're here and we're starting the new route. We're gonna save the bid reporter die and just trying to shuffle the rolls again. So that's pretty exciting. I'm guessing if they're gonna give us a special roll, it'll probably be either spider or a werewolf if they want to make it super spicy. I can't really imagine them giving us crow or monkey since I mean, again, crow's actually important, but it's not as interactive. And monkeys, I mean, again, it's important, but it's not interactive at all. Or they can give us villager. I don't know. Oops, probably shouldn't have clicked off of that. I guess we'll just have to see. That's just what I'm predicting, though. So either way, it'll be pretty fun. If we're werewolf, who would? I mean, I was gonna say who would be our partners. It would probably do like someone who hasn't been werewolf yet. Though it would be really be funny if it's like Ricato plus Chiemi. But I think like Ricato said she would she said she would like she's always for the villager, so she would probably give herself up, but I'm not sure. Anyways, enough speculating. Save the speculating before or after we learn what's happening, because it might not matter. I would actually really enjoy playing Spider too. I feel like Spider could be super fun if he hit those saves, because that's one way we can like have a really cool game. Not a cool game, like a really like everyone lives game. Which I mean we kind of had it in the last route, but like obviously you still have to hang the werewolves at us, but still. I feel like it would be cool. I feel like I can hit those blocks. So here we are. Yeah, this one should be here. Wow, look at these two. We haven't seen them in a while. It'll nice. Oh, nice. Oh, it will be nice to get more Mamiya when she's not a werewolf. Because I like her. But she was just screwed last time.
マロードの艦隊はしないみたいだけど不思議だわ。こんな偏僻な農村になぜこんな得意な風習が残ったのかしら。昔はもっと特殊な集落だったとか。
やっぱりそっちのが向いてそうだね。キューちゃんの本職。
あった、これは失礼。じゃあスミカも霧が立った時の対処も聞いたし、お仕事に戻りましょうか。
キューちゃんが寮の部屋でいいよね。それで
No.
僕がここ。
No, not this time. I actually think we haven't seen too much of Hashimoto, and it's been a while, but from memory, he was really sharp, so he might actually be like a really good gamer in the feast.
あ、よかったら下の小屋は橋本さん使われませんか？こっちは
大丈夫大丈夫。どこでも寝られるから。それに君はこれから住むんだろう。早いところ家に馴染んだ方がいい。
He had a point. Also, I'd borrowed the place from Umatsu-san. I didn't have the right to... Whoa. Did we notice that? We probably noticed that spelling mistake last time. To let just anyone use it. I don't want to be like that guy who always calls stuff out, but it is interesting. It's a little more forgivable in Japanese games since they're translators, but like these are pretty easy mistakes. If they had like I imagine just for like simple stuff like spelling mistakes, like if they had like a proper beta testing with at least like 10 people, they probably should just nail some of these out, right? But I know that might be expensive. But yeah, let's do this. It's actually been a couple days since I've read, so I'm kind of excited. This was it. If I let Hashimoto-san take the prefab, his death would be unavoidable. By keeping him alive, I should be able to create a different timeline, new roles. Exciting stuff. Oh yeah, don't show me that, man. Simply surviving wasn't enough. I wonder, like, I don't know if there will, like, really be a real romance in the end, but, like, who would Haruaki pick, man? I don't know. I feel like it would still go to Chiemi. just because Ritato feels like such a mystical, powerful character or something, but we'll see. I mean, to be fair though, Haruaki was ready to marry her, so maybe not. maybe would still choose Ritato. That meant I had to try all possible options. I had to reveal all things I was ignorant or afraid of. For all I knew, I might have been overlooking some minor yet important details. That's true. Me included. Especially with like the lore of the village. Again, I've been more for the game theory stuff, because that's definitely more in my wheelhouse. Though I do love some good lore, but I'm not really great at like digging it up. So let's see. Obviously, we need to learn the lore if we're gonna beat this looping thing, because just winning isn't enough. But first I wanted to try more impactful changes. Letting Hashimoto-san survive would have to greatly affect the timeline. That already happened once with Mami-san's survival. It even changed the guardians people received. And then should be the same thing here. I just still remember the last loop. I'd become the snake, took out the wolves, and decided to live alongside the survivors. Most importantly, Rikato-san. Yeah, little recap. If people took a break after the loop, which I kinda did, so. Or the last route, I should say. Since like all deaths are loops, right? So just categorizing them as routes are a little cleaner. Those sentiments had earned an unreasonable, cruel conclusion. I could still remember the sadness and despair, but I couldn't really understand it. Why had I forgotten my fear of the unknown? Why had it been so easy for me to decide to move to Yasumizu and live alongside Rikato Umatsu-san? Was I that kind of person? It was a little... I do agree, it was a little much. A little out of character, even. I didn't know why, but it definitely seemed like I wasn't really myself back then. I didn't really think of it like that, though. That's interesting. It felt like I'd become a part of something greater, not just an individual. The gears all snapped into place and brought forth that tragic ending. These feelings and guesses coming to my head left me without a clue as to where to go from here. A part of me did feel like fate or something divine existed, and that I couldn't escape its control no matter what. But my knowledge, discretion, perception, and intuition wanted to deny that line of thinking. There's no absolute fate. If there was something like that, it was either someone's elaborate plot, or just a product of my imagination that seemed like it. I wasn't being a conspiracy theorist here, or a nihilist for that matter. However, I wanted to reject lines of thinking that stifled my ability to come up with ideas. If I could think creatively, I might be able to find gaps in these seemingly impenetrable bars jailing me here. It's a good mindset. It's kind of nice compared to a lot of Muv-Luv, where a guy was like full doomer pilled, definitely nihilistic. Haruaki does have a stronger mental. No offense to Taku, he does have a stronger mental now, late in the game, but for a while he was really whiny.
気にしないでください。僕は今後ずっとあそこに住むんですから、橋本さんはこの一晩だけでも楽に過ごすべきです。
That's a good argument, actually, for seeming natural, you know? I'm gonna live there all my life, you know? You're visitors here. Take the sweet, man.
藤吉村にはマロードを丁重にもてなす文化があるそうですから。
Is that true?
その一員となる僕もそうすべきだと思うんです。
まれびと信仰
I don't even think that's
ロ
true.
ケーション的にはしっく
I
り
think
く
it
る
might
け
be
ど
the
こ
opposite.
この現状を見るとピンとこないな。それってあの樋口さんから聞いたの？
Ah, crap, that was info Rikako-san had given me last loop. Well, you can just say it's from Higuchi. I actually didn't even remember that.
まあよくしてもらいましたよ。こうして家まで手配してくれて。
I guess maybe he doesn't want to say it just in case they go back to Higuchi and talk about it, right?
久石くん人がいいのね。
え？
Nope, not at all.
ご好意はいただいたらどうです？橋本さん。
Yeah, no point in arguing.
いただこうかな。
Don't have a who's nicer battle. All good. After parting ways with them, I went to Kari-san and had her help me get a shabby blanket, some newspapers, and a water bucket. There was only one bucket they could let me use, and it was in a pretty bad state, showing once again just how dire Yasumizu's supply problem was. The newspapers weren't the daily news, but some old ones brought from Kami Fujiyoshi as material supplies. I spread them out on the floor and placed a blanket on them. That was my sleeping spot ready. They don't even got a pillow for us, man. I also bought a portable toilet at the convenience store. You did? I mean, that's good. Now if nature called during the night, I wouldn't be faced with the difficult choice to either die or piss myself, or just like piss in a corner, though I guess that's pretty nasty too. Can you like... Actually, no. Who cares? Oh. After finishing up the preparations, I, just like last time, returned to the dining hall. I was given some shishinare again and somehow ate it all. This was the funky one, right? The special one.
案外、いけますね。
That was a bit of a lie. I just came prepared for it because of my experience from last time. I still wasn't used to it enough to declare it good. Just what kind of booze would go with this? Do they even have drinks in Yasumizu? Then, like last time, I went on to Fit's plates. Last time I had learned the symbols of the Hiruchi, the Umetsu, and when I got in the snake, the Midoruma symbol, even if it wasn't too clear. The Nosato mansion had theirs on the gate, so I now knew all of them. This info could possibly lead me to the true side to remember it. I'll be honest, I don't remember what the symbols look like. I mean, Umetsu one is just what's on Rutato, so that one's a little easier. I think the monkey one was like, there was like two dots or something. Some time passed, and like last time, the students came back. We're meeting everyone again. The bright yet tender Yasunado Oribe. His tenderness was mostly towards his family, though. It was a very human trait, which was a good thing. I felt bad for him for getting caught up in something like this. Whether he was an ally or enemy in the feast would greatly affect how it went. I didn't want him as an opponent, that much was certain. My boy Mochi. Probably gonna be less psychopathic this route. The free-spirited and slightly immoral Chikamochi Kamoshida, he left quite an impression on me. As a wolf, he was a threatening individual who could do some horrible things with a straight face, but what would he be like this time? I mean, we've seen both sides of him, which is good. I think that's really good for the game, the feast part, seeing people both as a wolf and as a villager. So it gives us like definitely a clearer picture on what's what when we go into the feast. At least for, like, you know, characters like Mochi and like all the past wolves, Yasunada, stuff like that. And then there was her, the weirdo, Haru Matsushima. Last time she'd been brutally murdered, while the time before that she sided with the wolves as a badger. What if we're badger? I kind of forgot about that, but we could be badger. She wasn't much of a contributor to the feast. I considered her to be a troublemaker rather than anything else. I feel like Badger would actually be an interesting role. Not because it's like interactive in the gameplay sense, like actually having stuff to do, but more as like arguing for the wolves on purpose could be interesting, I guess. But it's clearly not her because we heard that voice after she died too.
はるちゃんは夜中寂しがって一人で抜け出したんだ。お泊まり学校。それで山道を抜けて。わからない。大人は安水の手前で見つけたって言ってたけど、みんな安水で何か見たんじゃないかって噂して。
And obviously one of the big mysteries is Shimi's necklace, which is also on the title screen. That I'm pretty sure is the symbol of the wolf markings you see. It might just be like the wolf marking that's painted on your stomach, but also the wolf counters that indicate how many wolves are in the feast. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong though. She was the closest person to the mystery surrounding Yasumizu. I feel like top 3 people for the mysteries is Haru, Rikato, and Chiemi, easily. You would think like Tai maybe, but I don't think so at this point. She lost her parents to the previous feast, disappeared once, then started taunting strangely.
偉大なる神を下ろすのは相応の儀礼にのっとるべきで簡単に勝手に取りつかれるようなものではないと
The village heads insisted that this wasn't any sort of possession but a mental illness. However, the fact that it was treated using Umetsu's special ability to take in such things made it seem entirely possible that the trouble surrounding her was of divine origin. I was going to say, isn't that like natural if Rikato uses her abilities, but like literally not, since we've seen her do that with poison, so it both works on spiritual and like normal things. But there was something I didn't really understand. I didn't know how, but last time Rikato-san healed me of aconite poisoning. I knew it was my own body. I knew it with my own body, that this ability was more than just a religious rite and had an actual physical effect. That didn't necessarily mean that it would work on mental illness too. Honestly, there was too many things that didn't make sense here.
その汚れは
There we go, he's going over all the big mystery stuff we need to find out. I didn't know the rules. It kind of freaked me out, but for now I had no choice but to set Rikato-san's issues aside. What mattered now is Haru-chan. Is this actually the Haru route? That's a little weird since she's a student. Probably not, like, romantically or undealt with her, like the other two. She had parental issues, a strange relationship with her granddad. All in all, she was a delicate young girl going through a complicated time in her life, and I didn't quite know how to deal with her. Fooling around with her didn't work, and Casanova-type characters seemed to scare her. I tried not to do much and appear harmless. Maybe that'd work.
おかえりあなたたちこちら急遽休みずに移り住むことになった夫妻子さんよ
どうも。
Friends. I bowed with an empty expression on my face.
兄ちゃんアンドロイドだ
Had to do my best not to fall over at that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we can connect with Haru. She just doesn't like strangers, I think.
だって
In general.
なんか人間じゃないみたいおおはるちゃんが僕より失礼だ
すみません。
It's not
この
that
間見た SF 映画にハマ
uncommon.
った
She's
みたい
usually
で。
kind of rude to us.
一応人間です。
どうも牧島春です
She wasn't as wary of me as last time at least. I still had no idea how to approach her. Sorry.
どっかで会いました
いえ、この辺りに来たの初めてですから。
ですよね
Did she have memories of my seducing Noah of the previous loop?
なんだこれ香織さんごめんなさいちょっと手拭いかなんかもらえます
Oh yeah, Chimmy had a sort of reaction too. Like maybe there's some subconscious memories, like everyone's a parent of the looping. Here's a crazy theory I kind of thought of. What if we're like all dead? And it's not just like a actual like metaphysical time loop thing, we do just keep looping, but that doesn't make sense because the dates are the same, so never mind. I don't know. It could again be like the Higurashi thing where the more you loop, the more it affects the other people not looping, and then they sort of slowly start to regain memories of the loop, just like as an after effect of you looping. That probably sounds a little more reasonable. Something similar had happened last time too. It wasn't impossible that someone else had memories of the previous times, Particularly this girl, considering her mind held traces of madness.
あの
Yeah, we're kind of just staring at you. Crap, I stared at her for too long. I had to talk it off.
いえ、僕も何か引っかかるものが。関東に出たことは？
ないです。
そうか。じゃあきっと何か縁があったんでしょう。
Don't be weird.
どうしたの？真っ赤だよ。
It's working though?
いや、そんなことないよ。ほー。
Huh? Was she easier than I expected? Maybe android-like coolness was the way to go with her. Whatever it was. Whatever that was.
こちら補修が完了した食器類、いかがいたしましょうか？
Cool manner of speech, robotic movements, playing with people's impressions was a bad habit I had.
じゃ
I
あ
don't know.
こっ
The
ち
android was just kind of weird.
さっきそんな喋り方だったかしら。
了
It's a
承
little stiff.
実行。どうもありがとう、メッサーシュミット。
暗い必殺人間バナナ。
What the? What just happened? Oh shit. Oh, I thought he took his pants off, but then he took... Hey, yo. Is this what they call harassment? Crazy thumbnail, though. Well, that's one way to introduce us to the villagers then. I feel like Takumi's not gonna be happy either about this. Mochito's enemy shouted some weird skill name, instantly undid my belt and brought my pants down. That's what you do, that goated CG right here. Hold. Okay.
すっげーパンツだ。
Oh, it's just undies. Okay, I mean, that makes sense. For some reason, I thought it was just fully exposed. That would be crazy. But yeah, obviously, we're wearing underwear.
こら、近持くん。その、やっていいことと悪いことが
Look
あ
at
るん
his
でしょ。
legs, though, man. My dude is defined. Some nice legs.
今を除いて仕掛けるときはなかったろ?
Well, if you looked at this as a joke, this was definitely well timed. My android-like coolness, whatever that was, instantly became a dad. Yeah, that was a good one. Classic. I can't remember the last time I seen a pants scene before. That was definitely a thing in, like, elementary school. His skill left me so dumbfounded that I just froze in place with my pants down, effectively giving a treat for the ladies and waiting for a response. Yeah. I mean, it is actually kind of skillful because he does wear a belt, so he must have quick hands, man. How did the girl see this pantless android like who died before her? How did the girl? And again, what was android-like coolness anyway? Blame Mochi, blame Mochi, blame Mochi. Please don't hate us. We did nothing. It's not our fault. My goodwill, it's shattered in like a minute. We were cooking something that's all gone now. Also, hopefully no other people come after hearing that. Not a positive reaction, of course not. Mochi's prank effectively gave her the worst possible impression of me. I don't know why. It's literally not our fault. We probably should have pulled them up right away. So that is our fault. Are we getting beaten? Her trying to tip my exposed ass over and over her. The two boys stopped her and then she, breathing heavily, fled the dining hall. The guys followed soon after, leaving just me and Kaori-san.
僕は悪いでしょうか？
No, you're not.
後で全員叱っておくわね。
She was alright ever since then. It was awkward as hell. I distracted myself by getting back to fixing plates. Well... Oh well. Eventually we were joined by the old wolf guy, Meito the goat, and Rubatato-san. I wasn't quite done with my job yet, but just like last time, I was given a break, so I went outside. Banger. We already have kind of a good thing going with her Kato, because it's like the same in the second round, so she's already kind of on our side, which is nice in general. Getting close to Ratato-san was important for both survival and finding out the truth. Plus, she's just a good person. I still had some affection for her, as well as memories of our time together. However, last time when I felt a similar way about Jimmy, I was hit with a big surprise. Ain't no way they're gonna hit us with Ratato's a werewolf this time. They wouldn't do that to us. Twice in a row. It wasn't just Jimmy though, the Feast of the Yomi Purge seemed to bring about a total change in the nature of people. Which I think is kind of expected. A life or death game probably, I wouldn't say brings out the worst in people, but kind of. If Ratato-san became a wolf this time, I wasn't sure if she would instantly kill herself like she claimed she would. I think she would want to, but now that I think about maybe the whole, like, since it does change her whole mindset, maybe she won't. To be fair. If that as a wolf, she would know Mato's guardian, or lack thereof, leaving the humans at a huge disadvantage. I mean, you would never target Mato. Well, unless she knew she had a guardian. If Mato dies first night, then we know it's probably Ratato, right? Because there's literally, she's like the worst first night killer because she's already initially suspicious because of where she came from, and she's just kind of chilling because she doesn't really interact with the feast at all. And most of all, if I got too close to her, it would make partying with her a whole lot harder. Even if I lost some of them, I had memories of the previous loops, so this was actually a big deal for me. The emotional strain would gradually pile up, and eventually even a guy as warped as me would snap. Thus, I would only get close to people as friends. That was probably the best way to go about this. I had no idea who'd even be alive once all of this was over. Hopefully everyone. That would be the good ending, right? It was even possible that there'd be no one left. We're running back the song. How many times have we heard this? Maybe close to 20 by this point? She does have a good singing voice. She was teaching me the song. I actually knew it by heart at this point, and the memories it was tied to made it hard to listen, but I acted like it was nothing. It took an uneasy tone. I looked away and saw Chimmy snickering as she waited for the right time to pop out. Yeah, trying to prank us. Or was that really foreshadowing? In the last loop. Or route. Classic. Heh, she knew exactly what she was doing with this sudden appearance. How mischievous. Crap. I accidentally remembered what she was like back then and gave a sarcastic comment. If she'd been telling the truth back then, she waited to kill me ever since we first met. I doubt that, though. Because we've seen her how she was. That meant that even now she was... Hold on. Did that mean that all the stuff I jokingly said about her being a murderer was on the mark? That's funny, but then I just don't believe it. After all, the two shotguns were hidden in the room even then. Toda beer. I thought that's a Tora beer. Is that a Toriyama reference? Because he does the gas mask thing? Hold on. The first time we met, our very first encounter was among the rocks near the Saranada. I picked up her flashlight, then she called out to me. It was a little weird, I agree. I haven't really thought about that for a while. What was she even doing there? That's true. I didn't think about that. It was late at night, yet she'd taken a flashlight and gone down a dangerous cliff to reach a locally taboo area, Saranada. She'd also said this.
ちえみさんはね、ただ単に最初から殺したくて殺したくて殺したくて殺したくて殺したくて殺したくてたまんなかっただけ。そう言ったら里帰りしたのだって殺しがしたくて戻ってきたようなもんだったしさ。
Those might have been nothing but words to make herself seem like a big bad wolf she was. However, it wasn't unlikely that she'd come down to the Serenata because she was doing something worrying. I agree. That's actually something we should investigate this time. She'd probably been there on this timeline too, we just hadn't met there. Maybe this time she'd actually finished whatever she was doing there? Maybe she got, like, the necklace from there? I don't know. Because we didn't see anything about the necklace in the first route, I think. Well, no one had gone missing or anything, so it probably wasn't murder at least. Still made me curious. It's kind of hard to, like, broach that subject, though, with her, without seeming suspicious. I was definitely attracted to her cheer, tact, and mystery, but this time I would focus on exposing the secrets of Yasumizu itself. Good. He who hunts two hares catches neither. I would only consider her to be a potential hazard.
いやいや、ワイルドさがハンティングなイメージに合ってるってことですよ。ちへみちゃんは猫科の猛獣って感じ。
お、いいですね、ちえみちゃん呼び。ついでに肉食獣に味見されてみます？
Jeez, not in front of her taco. I was about to say.
なんとハレンチな。私もリカコとお呼びください。なんだそれ。
僕も下の名前でどうぞ。
We're going friend mode. We're friend zoning everyone here. What a mess of an exchange, though it still served to decide on what we'd call each other, so that was fine by me.
何イチャイチャしてんのよ。
Oh no. Hey. Suddenly we were joined by Haru-chan holding a stick. This is new. Yo, why is she so mad at me? Help. I was actually getting chased by a girl because of loot stuff. What was this, a 20th century manga?
パンツマン？パンツマン？パンチョマン？
Don't listen to them, Mako. I was worried that nickname would spread, and I really hoped it didn't. If Mochi learns about that, then we're doomed. The nickname will spread. I couldn't have predicted that I'd run out of time just calming Haru-chan down and preventing the nickname from taking root in their minds. Uh-oh.
夕霧が
Already.
嘘。
Save her, man.
いやー、霧は嫌。
Was she afraid of the mist because of whatever happened 8 years ago?
はるちゃん、
Probably.
落ち着いて。ちえみちゃん、彼女はどこに？
In the spur of the moment, I went and called her by first name, which I was pretty sure she didn't like, but no one would care right now.
私が寮に連れてく。春明さんはどこに？
ああ、そうだ。今日は僕は上のプレハブに泊まることにしてまして。
どうしてあんなところに？小屋は？
僕は明日からずっと寝泊まりするから、お客さんにいい場所を譲るべきかなと。
春明様。
Thank you, thank you.
素晴らしい。お気づ何ごちゃごちゃやってるの？急いで。リカコさんはメイコちゃんのこと頼みましたよ。
The only bad thing if we're a wolf, man, I don't want to kill Mako.
わかりました。メイコ、みそぎ、物意味、夢枕よ。ねえ、わかった。春明さん、抜け道教えるから。
Shortcut. New
は
tact.
るちゃん、歩ける？霧。いや、息が追ってくるの。 爪の音が
I don't know if that's a yes or a no. I lit that chimney, she nodded, and I picked Haru-chan up.
さん
Mother.
いや
She was pale, her expression was empty, and her body was shaking, locked in a fetal position. Just what had she seen in the mist? What had she gone through? I hesitantly tightened my grip on her. She immediately grabbed onto my jacket. I had no idea if I could get along with her, but it wasn't impossible. Made the effort. While on the mood, I noticed Hashimoto-san head to the hut I provided him, so all seemed good on that front. After leaving Haru-chan in the dorm, I said goodbye to her, Jimmy, and 2 guys there. We were waiting for Haru-chan and Worry before making my way to the construction site.
寮の裏手の小道通ればすぐ行けるから足は滑らさないよう気をつけてね
It's probably how Jimmy, got in front of us when we were running away. She knows all the shortcuts. She also told me about how to prepare for the feast and was generally pretty nice about it, too. It was pretty annoying that I couldn't just tell her that I knew it all. By the time I arrived at the prefab, the sun was down. We made it, though. I began checking how I'd fare here. I take only the bare minimum of food and water I had here. I came prepared, but I didn't want to have to use the bathroom until morning. This was the shabbiest sleeping spot yet, but since I was still pretty awake, that allowed me to think a bit more. It was time to assess the situation. Alright, let's see what we got. There's not too much to assess right now. First of all, there were 2 things I had to keep in mind. How Yudai Hashimoto-san joining would affect the feast, so I'm sure he'll know it'll shuffle the roles, right? And whether I could find out much about the feast and Fujiyoshi from Haru Matsushima. It'll be hard to broach, but she would give us some good lore, probably. The former would be made obvious by tomorrow. If he died despite all I'd done this time, I'd be all out of ways to help him survive. True. I'd have to start considering if there was something inhuman at work that was actively trying to prevent him from joining. They just know he'd be too sharp, man. If he did join the feast though, the guardian assignment would definitely change, just like they had when Mami-san and I joined. Oh, I didn't even realize this, actually. I said there might... Because if, I already forgot. Hashimoto. If Hashimoto joined, that would kind of be the last combination of people able to join the feast. And that's why I thought this would be the last route, and then there might be you would finish the story through the other routes. But I just realized that's not even true. We haven't done, a route where just Haruaki joined and the 2 journalists didn't join. So that's another combination of people that we haven't seen, the role shuffling for. Because in the first round, we weren't in the feast. That was -3 people. And last time we did +2 people. So this time we'll be +3, but we haven't done +1. So I guess that could be an option. Though again, I feel like... I was trying to say, good ending equals everyone lives. But, technically, the journalists don't have to join the feast. Like we did in the first route. So that's, yeah, I didn't even think about that. That there's technically still 2 options with different combinations. I don't know if they will explore just adding a +1 person for the Guardian shuffling. But, yeah, we'll see. That should be open now. Yeah, that just slipped my mind completely. However, the info I gained the first time when I couldn't participate at all, and the second time when I participated as a snake were completely different. Naturally, there's a change in human relationships and who benefited from them, and now, with this change, I would get to know people I hadn't interacted much with yet. Especially Haru-chan. I could only hope that being the undie didn't result in her avoiding me. That reminded me, Mochi was the reason for my new title. Was he the biggest obstacle in my path toward the truth? He is protective of Haru-chan when he's not the wolf, so... Nah, he wouldn't admit it, but the guy liked Haru-chan and was jealous that I was getting between them. Yeah, 100%. Oh, so he was the one who killed Haru-chan last time. Was the sad face I saw on him the day after just an act? I had no idea, but I could totally imagine him killing her only to regret it right after. Oh yeah, Yasunada Kanosu revealed his feelings for Chimi right before she killed him, didn't he? She instantly shot him down, though. Again, how much can we take from that from them being wolves? Until we, yeah. It seemed like she felt the same way the first loop, so that was probably true. I mean, yeah. I mean, it is true, but not like... I mean, yeah. Actually, that's a good point. Or maybe I just wanted to think that way. Nah, she doesn't like them. It's clear. Then again, being liked by Jimmy meant that she wanted to kill you, so I wasn't sure if I was happy about that. That aside, as a wolf and as a human, he was a player skilled at debate and consideration. He's a good ally to have, if he's on your team. His words were rarely far from the mark, and he had influence over his mother and friends' votes. He wasn't self-righteous or some kind of loner, and with a good backer spurring him on, he could be an excellent human player. If he was a wolf, though, I'd instantly know it from his lack of enthusiasm toward the feast. Maybe that would be considered cheating, but whatever. It's called metagaming, where we're from, but like in real life, but yeah. That's what I was saying before. It's actually good to have information of people as they were villagers and wolves, so it's easier to detect what they are. Meanwhile, though, Chimmy had done some bold things during the last feast. She wasn't a very active participant in the meetings themselves. Yep, that was one of the tells. That was probably because, just like Mochi, she played cautiously as a wolf and avoided drawing attention to herself. Taking that into account, Chimmy's whole "hang me" act on the first day was pretty impressive. It was bold for a wolf to make such a self-sacrificing play at that stage, but it was at the point where people weren't ready to hang anyone, human or wolf. Yeah, it was a bluff, but like again, no blind hangings day one. It was safe bluff. I don't know when we caught on to Chimmy, but we caught on to it pretty early, right? It wasn't as early as Yasunaga, though. She managed to make herself look like a human without any real risk, and kept the act going until the end. I'd heard that Chimmy had a decently big impact on the feast I didn't participate in, because she was following like some of our instructions, so that helped. If she became a human, she would surely be a valuable asset to the humans. Personally, I didn't want to be enemies with her then, but I had no idea what she thought of me right now before the feast had even begun. She herself had told me that she'd always want to kill me, which meant that the kindness she displayed to me so far could have been an act. That wasn't a pleasant thought. Rikako-san too seemed to be pretty fond of me. That was probably because of her idea that I was a special person who could do something about the feast. Which is true. I wanted to do something about it, but saw no possible way at this point. I couldn't help but worry that I'd disappoint her again. She was pretty passive in the feast, and her votes often prioritized the local folklore and fairness. She does have some influence, though, with Meito. That's like a +1 vote sometimes, if she wanted it to be. I was gonna say with Nosato too, but because Nosato votes before her, their votes like almost never line up the same, so... She did some pretty dangerous things though, like trusting me without any real reason to. However, as a descendant of the Umetsu family, she knew full well just how scary the feast was and how to deal with it. The fact that she knew Meito's position was pretty important too, and would surely be important now. I wasn't sure about Meito herself though. The goat, the only survivor. It's headcanon until they tell me otherwise that she survived last ending, objectively making last ending better than the first ending, because we actually have a survivor. But I mean, I was gonna say Nosato survived, but no, Haru killed him, right? Or Haraki killed him. If she got a guardian and Rikako-san handled her well, it'd all be good. But if that wasn't the case, I couldn't expect much from her in the feast, and her votes were based on how she felt at the moment. She would be an uncertain factor and nothing more. Yep, that's literally always my, that was always my take on her and the wolf guy. Though the wolf guy is a little more cognizant? Is that the word? Whatever. You know what I'm saying. Rikako-san let her vote as she pleased, probably to hide that they were communicating, which wasn't great. I mean, I feel like everyone would just naturally assume they were communicating. The old man who cried wolf was even worse, though. What the hell was that guy? I mean, maybe I was wrong. I don't know. I feel like he knows more than Meito, but also all his votes were always just weird, right? A senile old man, it really didn't seem like it. Yeah. Kanto-san had said that he survived the previous feast. He never said anything important during the feast, but had a vote worth the same as everyone else's. He also pretended to be the spider last time. Though Ritato-san came out as the spider's Mato's representative, she was essentially the real thing. Claiming to be the spider despite that only meaningful if you were the badger. After all, if the badger presented themselves to the wolves once enough humans were out of the game, they would have a latent ally, which would be pretty good for them. And if he was capable of thinking that much, it meant that he wasn't just senile, quite the opposite in fact. But that idea didn't click with the fact that he'd always ended up getting hanged. What was he even after? He was just here for a good time. I had more than enough evidence to conclude he was insane, but that just made spending time thinking about him more of a pain. Now, while Kanzo-san's actions and goals were obvious, he was hard to control. He'd been handling the feast based on his experience from the other ones. It was a relatively logical approach, but he wasn't flexible at all. Yeah. And he has a lot of influence too, so it's tricky. He was extremely overbearing when it came to the flow of the conversation and didn't mind making unnecessary sacrifices, which eventually led to a lack of stability. He also had a weak point in Haru-chan. When it concerned her, he could become dangerous and violent. The other elder, Tai Yamawati-san, was simply a hyper-traditionalist who resented the younger folks. In certain situations, it was easy to get her to vote right, but in others, she was nothing but a hindrance. She was also Takumi-san's a key person's weak point, and handling that whole matter was difficult. Tai-san's opposite was Yoshitsugu Oribe. He didn't care about tradition and hated the elders, as well as the village heads. He was also the intense type and could easily mess up the feast. It was also possible for him to make peace with his mother and brother and enter the Yasunaga faction. But if left to his own devices, he would break the rules and get eliminated from the game on the first night. Handling him was difficult. Yeah, we should probably try to keep him alive though. His mother, Kaori-san, was generally a passive player who followed Yasunaga-kun, but she had a tendency to do unexpected things. When Yoshitsugu-kun had died, she tried to poison everyone's food, and she also tried to bend the feast rules and leave a dying message. She was the sole source of decent food here, and honestly I wanted her and her sons to survive until the end. Then there was the man who understood and loved her, Takumi-san. He was important as the facilitator and mediator, keeping Yasumizu unified despite the tribulations of the feast. He had a lot of weaknesses though, such as his antagonism towards outsiders and the village heads, as well as his tendency to do unnecessary stuff on his own. However, all of it was outweighed by his popularity, charisma, and sheer strength, which were useful every now and then. Overall, he was someone I wanted to depend on. He really had to form a trusting relationship with his brain, though. Now, my boy, Kiyonosuke no Satoshi, was pretty hard to evaluate. He's a gamer, man. He sometimes has the wrong plays, but I think he's pretty logical in general. And he never, except for like never voting for Ritato. I can't imagine him ever doing that. He often said things that didn't have to be said, couldn't read the mood, and tended to create conflicts between himself and Yasumizu's people, but despite expectations, he ended up surviving. Odd thanks to us, though. If he didn't, well, obviously the other routes led us dead, but if he didn't stick up for him, or clear him early, he probably would get voted off early, just because of his attitude in general. He actually wasn't wrong most of the time, but his presentation alone often ruined it completely. He was one of the few village heads in the group, so I could at least count on him to prevent any unfair votes toward Ritato-san, but besides that, I just remembered that he was a doctor. Couldn't he examine the dead bodies? Why did I have to do it when we had him around? Great question, but not every doctor's just good at specializing at, like, post-mortem autopsy stuff, right? I guess that's redundant, whatever. Dude, I'm getting so many spam calls now. It was like so chill for like the last couple months. He hadn't insisted on examining a single corpse so far. Was it because he was afraid of dead bodies or something? What the hell? That kind of joke wasn't funny in a situation like this. Besides them, there was the journos. Mamiya-san was pretty much manipulated by Chimmy, so reading her was hard. If she could keep her cool, she could probably make some decent contributions to the feast. Also, I felt that her knowledge of folklore and occult stuff would be necessary for my current main goal, finding out the truth. Good point. As for Hashimoto-san, he hadn't survived this night, even once thus far, so I couldn't say anything about him. But from what we've seen, he's a pretty sharp guy. However, though, the first impressions had made him seem like nothing but some fat guy. He did Jesus, okay. He did show an impressive capacity for logic and reason. I thought he was always pretty sharp, but okay. If both Mami-san and Hashimoto-san survived, I imagined they would perform really well in the feast. Of course, it was hard for them to pass the barrier all outsiders faced here. Alright, that's our group recap. Then there was myself. I was the most suspicious here, and the one most likely to get hanged. That's crazy considering Meiko. I feel like if I was the villagers, I would be more suspicious of Meiko than me, who came through like normally this time. In the first loop, I kind of understand because we appeared in the Saranada, but in this loop, we came here from the heads, right? So even though they don't trust the heads, I feel like I should be less suspicious than Meiko. Last time I'd been able to survive because I was a snake and leveraged my role well. It helped me get Tatsumi-san and Rikato-san over to my side, as bad as that sounded. However, there's no guarantee that it would happen again. It was best to assume it wouldn't. In that situation, I'd have to focus on helping my side emerge victorious with myself still alive, rather than just helping my side emerge victorious. Even if I could loop, there was no guarantee that I couldn't get into a situation where I would be hanged no matter what. That was a heavy thought to have, but I'd have to believe I could make it and keep pushing onwards. I had to keep going. Suddenly I felt drowsiness come over me. It's interesting that this didn't happen in the first loop when we were in the outhouse, right? We didn't sleep, that's why they excluded us from the feast. I wonder why. Had I been so busy during the day that I ended up more tired than I thought? Maybe just because we weren't in a... Well, if we weren't in a proper shelter, we would be dead, so... It's interesting. That's why, like, that... I'm pretty sure that, like, part is locked by a bunch of keys. Probably when you know, like, the truth. You'd understand why that happened, right? It was time to cleanse myself. I took off my clothes, wiped my body, switched into my spare underwear, and that was that. Then I locked the shabby-looking lock and returned to my bed, if you could call it that. What would I do if my door was suddenly knocked down and some scary werewolf monster came in? I tried to keep myself on my toes, but my brain knew that wasn't how the feast worked, so it just relaxed and led me to sleep. I'd be safe today. I wouldn't die today. I'd think about what came next later. Show the guardian. I felt a strange pain all over my body. Next I felt that something was way too red. I could see the light of the outside through my eyes and thought that it meant it was dawn, but that wasn't the case. The morning sun had a bitter orange color, but this red right here was darker and colder. It also felt like my eyes weren't even closed. Why was I unconscious with my eyes open? Not only did my body hurt, but it was cold as well. Too cold. We're gonna be werewolves, aren't we? I was kind of feeling that was like the most logical thing. Plus, like, I guess being a werewolf might help us understand the role better. Not for like game theory, but for like lore reasons. So I feel like we're a werewolf, which is exciting and like, I don't know. I don't want to kill people though. I was sleeping on it, but it lets me show my game theory more. See how you properly play as a werewolf, depending, well, given the limited options we have. My hair was on some gravel, while my hands felt grass and mist. It was cold. My senses awakened. No, it was more like something that had been cut off had suddenly returned. It wasn't quite the same as a typical morning, and the bizarre sensation took me a moment to adjust to. I was outside. The moment I realized that, all blood left my face. I tried to jump up, but then I realized my body was sluggish and that my body temperature was extremely low. Had I been out in this cold mist for that long? My mind was in better condition than my body, at least. Why was I outside anyway? Had I broken some taboo I just didn't know about? Did the prefab count as an outside? Would I be taken outside and killed because of it? Maybe there wasn't even a need for a reason like that. It could have been that I'd been used as an example. If Yudai Hashimoto-san did the feast prep this time, no one would die tonight, but perhaps that was a bad thing for Great Lord Shinai. Or he thinks we're actually being corrupted? That'd be dumb. Then this wouldn't be a route. Well, yeah, maybe it would not unlock the key for something else, but I'm pretty sure we're just gonna be a werewolf at this point. The distance of the penalty, the corruption was best made through example. A simple mess of a corpse was enough to prevent people from trying to escape or walking out at night. However, if no one broke that rule, no example could be made. But if that was actually entirely possible to make an example without anyone breaking any laws. But it wasn't. Okay. Yeah. If there was a corpse tomorrow, everyone would just assume that the victim had broken a law. No one would question the Punisher's decision. Well, we hadn't had any unexplained victims of the corruption thus far. That was my assumption anyway. Ricardo's hand going nuts made absolutely no sense, but it wasn't even clear if that was corruption, so I would just leave it at that. True. That's still a mystery that I kind of forgot about. Besides that, all instances of corruption so far seem to have completely plausible causes behind them, so I'd assume that the Punisher was fair. But could I trust their benevolence now in this situation? I was an outsider who was barely known here, and that kind of made me the best person to make an example out of. Had I been too optimistic to assume I wouldn't die today? My throat was dry, which made me feel even colder. My irritation and panic broke my tolerable limits, and I finally regained my senses and control over my body. There was red light all around me. Its source was distant, but it lit up the entire mist, giving it a bewitching, unsettling shine. It made me both uneasy and scared. It reminded me of the first mist I'd ever seen, even though it was late at night right now. However, unlike the first time, I didn't feel any beasts nearby. I strained my eyes to look into the mist, and realized that I had someone at my side. Or rather, I realized that there was a humanoid silhouette within the red light. It was a girl. Haru Matsushima. Ooh, are we werewolves with Haru? As I tried to stand up, I staggered pathetically and collapsed again. I could barely even speak. She noticed me, slowly turned her face toward me, and looked down at me with eyes showing no hint of emotion, thought, or life. She was even smiling a bit. I heard my name. It surprised me, but I somehow turned to the other side and saw... Okay, we're werewolves, and these are our partners. Interesting. I always thought Kyrie would be a really good werewolf. I think I explained myself like last time, or in 1 or 2 episodes ago. Haru's interesting too, but I feel like Haru's the key here. Her eyes and expression were almost exactly like Haru-chan's. It's like they're hypnotized, but we're still cognizant, which is interesting. Was I still half asleep? Was this some sort of dream? Why were they here anyway? But if I could actually see the god that Shimi, Rikako, and Haru-chan talked about, I would accept it in a heartbeat. I turned to the direction that those two were facing. In red, misty darkness, I saw the outline of a large tree. It was the hanging pine. That meant that this was the graveyard. Oh. There were 3 lights, or rather sets of them, within the mist. It took me a moment, but I realized they were eyes. Well, if we're werewolves, this makes it really easy to get close to Haru, and maybe we can just learn some good lore from her now. Kind of eliminates the barrier we had. The vague silhouettes seemed human and not yet human at the same time. Was that God? Why had they appeared before us? Questions filled my head, my thoughts became dull, and my sense of logic froze, and my vision contracted. Suddenly, God spoke. Hey, it's Tanzo's voice. I think. It was like a rumble, but it was definitely a voice. We will now tell you the true legend. I tried to follow what he said. The wolves were not fully dead. The wolves aren't dead yet. Okay. Truly, it is mankind that has been dead. It's the humans that are dead. Mankind, snake, ape, crow, spider. I mean, this seems like fake legend. Some wolf propaganda right now. Which makes me think that... Because I guess the question was, like, was the wolf lore correct or the guardian lore correct? Just seeing this kind of makes me think the guardian lore is correct. All creation is the making of Yomi. All of them have risen up from Yomi. The law of the mountain says kill the Yomi. That they all must be killed. The squad. You were chosen to be the wolves. Didn't work last time. Well, actually, we don't know what happened when the wolves won in the first game. Destroy the Yomibito and purify the mountain and river. We will give something to you. Bro can't even translate this right. I feel like it's pretty easy to translate. We shall... Actually, I say that I don't know what the third word is. We shall something this and cleanse yourself. You must wear it and cleanse yourself. Do this, and the wicked mist shall deal no harm? Do that, and the corrupt mist shall not harm you. But since the mist is so dense, we will also send you the badger. Okay, so badger spawns second night or third day, basically. That's good information to have, actually. Tomorrow night we shall inspire one of the Yomibito to become your ally. It's kind of interesting because the first pair of wolves from the first route seemed like super righteous and like in for the cause, but Shimi and Mochi were just like, yeah, we don't care about the gods. We're just doing this for us. This badger would be a guardian, and it is our help. And it is our help to you. Also, the wolves always got such a detailed explanation. They were low in number, humans received other guardians, they were under pressure to lie at all times, and were surely conflicted about many things. The wolves were actually at quite a disadvantage here. However, they had more information, they knew their allies and enemies, and about the existence of the traitor unknown to the humans. We don't know who the badger is. Anyway, draw the blood of one human a night. Anyway, seriously, did they have any idea how hard that was? Or you would die. Okay. I was trying to say, what if you played the werewolves and we just didn't kill? It is dude, I mean, it depends, but it is technically you could coordinate with the spider to always hit the spider target. That would be a way to help let the villagers win, but I don't know. I think at this point we just want to win as the wolves and see what happens, right? Otherwise, you will be the ones to die. Threats too, huh? Do not doubt this. He just repeated it for effect, surely. These wolves are so dramatic. He really wanted us to believe him. I don't trust the wolves, man. They just don't seem like the good guys. So the three of us were wolves? We got the swag. I had no idea if that was true, hell I didn't even know if this was real or not. Then the red light became weaker, or my consciousness began to fade, I had no idea. And soon enough it was all dark. It's cool that we're not being like corrupted by the wolves, like our mental at least. But it seems the other two are. Okay, so we are the wolves. We got Haru and Kaori. This isn't bad. Because they're not really gonna suspect Kaori and Haru right away, because Haru has Kanzo's protection, which helps a lot, and obviously Kaori has Yasunada's protection. So we're in like a really good spot, especially if they just play passive, and we just need to like lead them astray. The only bad part is that, again, Haruaki said we're naturally suspicious, so they might come after us first. So we need to like, Haruaki needs to be very productive, while the other two needs to be more passive and just like vote with Yasunada. So basically we need to be the leader in the feasts for the wolves, try to like present ourselves as good, be active as possible, try to put some doubt on other people, and then and hopefully it convinces either Kondo or Yasunada, and then the other two will just vote with them because that doesn't seem suspicious. That would be the play. Listen, I'm really excited to be a wolf because I feel like, again, it's part of the game theory. I'm actually, you can ask my peers. I'm actually a really good like mafia/wolf in these types of games because I'm really good at lying. Obviously, we don't have full control, so I can't really I'm not fully there yet, but I feel like we can make some pretty good kill decisions too. Obviously, I'm a little hesitant because I actually don't really want to kill people because, this game you're actually killing people. Like, I'm not, I mean, there's never really a point to ever killing Meito, like at night, but I don't want to kill Meito, man. I don't really want to kill Ratato either. I like her now. I don't want to kill Mochi. I don't want to kill the boys. Dude, I am not killing Nosato. I mean, there's no point since he's always super suspicious, but yeah, it'll be a little tough, but I think it'll be a fun experience. Plus, it's needed, right? You need to see both sides of the situation. Plus, again, it gives us access to being friendly with Haru, which might give us more lore, right? So that'll be good. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And next time, we're starting the Wolf arc officially. Let's see. And plus, Hashimoto's here, so I feel like it's actually a negative to us since he's pretty sharp. So he's gonna be a hard competitor, but we'll see. And then we'll decide on who we want to take out first. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later, guys.